What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is going to be your review for Queen Season 1, Episode 8. So, in real life, we know that Eve is pregnant and she is stepping away from the show for a little while because of her pregnancy. So I feel like this episode was to set up the fact that Eve is going to be gone for a while, right? So kind of, we left off with Brianna getting shot, Eve's character getting shot. And we see her and Eric were both shot. They're being rushed to the hospital. It's real emotional. They got the whole emotional thing with, we got Jill in the backseat praying, saying the Hail Mary. And, we got Bree being all emotional like she is. And, all these different things. And so while both of them in the back being, tended to, of course, the ladies don't know anything. And technically, they're not family with Eric or with Bree. I'm sorry, I said Bree was emotional. Brandy's emotional. And, of course, they're not technically family with either one of them. So it's hard for them to get information. Brandy finally has to tell the nurse, listen, he's the father of my child. Please let me know what's going on. Now, we find out that Eric is pretty stable, right? Eric is stable, but Bree is the one that they're really worried about. That's really going to be a problem, right? So then we get what we call the origin story, right? We flash back to 1993, and we see that Bree and Naomi met because Bree was a smart kid from the private school that was tutoring Naomi in Shakespeare. And they bonded over the fact that they both realized that they love hip hop. Naomi was Bree was letting Naomi know, listen, Shakespeare was a rapper too. And she starts rapping some Shakespearean lyrics, and they sort of bond over that. And, because of course Naomi is looking at her like, you're some old square from, Catholic school. So Naomi is like, listen, there's a showcase down, in the Latin quarters. What's up? I'm looking for a crew. You trying to go? And Brianna was like, what you mean? You want to start a group? She was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's start a group. So Naomi goes home with Bree that day. And of course, Bree is middle class, looks like her mother's a doctor or something. She has on a white coat. So to give the impression that she's some sort of doctor or works in some sort of medical field type of thing. And of course, she takes one look at Naomi and she is like, yes, no, she was like, since when they started dressing like that at Saint wherever. And she was like, well, I go to, whatever the public school name was. And of course, her mother immediately was like, mm-mm. She says, girl, I have set up a play date for you. Bree was like, a play date? Like, I'm grown. Like, what play date? And she said, yes, a girl from your school. She goes to a private school as well. Basically, she is of the pedigree for you to hang out with. And who comes out, a little chubby, little chocolate thing? Hi, I'm Jill. So they were looking at her like, okay, she is a square. She got these glasses on. She all, they again immediately looking at her thinking she don't, she can't hang with us. So then, we flash back to the present and they're in the hospital and the detective comes through to talk to all of them. And of course, each one of them end up telling the detective who they think might have done it. Jill talks about her ex-girlfriend. Little Debbie Snack tells him about Jadakiss. Fake J-Lo tells them about her fake mama. And so, of course, they end up going and questioning all of them, rounding everybody out. In the meantime and in between time, of course, they ended up going, they realized, oh my gosh, Jill's kids, Bree's kids, like, they're dealing with all of this, like, oh my goodness. And so they end up going to get the kids, so they could bring them in. One, so they could, get to the kids and let them know what's going on. Two, they're the next of kin. So they're trying to get to Bree to find out what's going on, to get information on Bree. And when they get to the hospital, who is already at the hospital is Grandma, a.k.a. Bree's mama, a.k.a. the woman who really don't like none of their asses, because in her mind, all of them are the reason why Bree didn't go to Harvard and become some great whatever. So she don't really have no words for none of them, right? And when the nurse comes out and the nurse ends up explaining to them, like, listen, Bree, Bree is really hurt, really bad. And the fragments of the bullet are in her spinal cord. And actually, before we get to that, the kids want to go see their mama, and the grandmother's like, no, she's fine. Y'all don't need to go see her like that. And they were like, well, we want to. And so they end up going in the back with, fake J-Lo. And of course, they're like, is mom going to die? And she has to have an honest conversation and let them know, listen, I don't know what to tell you. She's like, she might die. Because, at this point, let's be honest, And so it's a moment. It's a moment. Now, while that's going on, Eric wakes up, and Naomi goes to check on Eric. Little Debbie Snack goes to check on Eric. And she lets Eric know, listen, the detective is a detective on the case. He's going to come through. He's going to ask you some questions, so just be ready. And she was like, is there anything you need to tell me? And Eric was like, nah, we good. I don't know what you're talking about. Little Debbie Snack is like, listen, she didn't tell Eric at first. So when the police detective showed up to question Eric, and she starts asking Eric questions about Jadakiss, Eric is like, I don't know what you're talking about. What you mean? Jada who? Jada what? I like his music. I don't know what you're talking about. And so Lil Debbie Snack come through there, and Eric is like, what the? Like, why would you tell the police about Jadakiss? She was like, because he beat your ass, and he probably is the one that shot you. And he was like, listen, this is hip hop. Ain't nobody doing all that. She was like, look, that whole no snitching thing, that's like old school. Like, at the end of the day, you need to let the police know what's going on, because again, he tried to kill you. I mean, he beat you up, and he might have tried to kill you. Like, you really need to get it together. But Eric is like, I don't have nothing to say. I'll handle it. And Naomi comes in, and she's like, what you mean you'll handle it? What you gonna handle? And she says, I'm saying, so he changes the subject or whatever. So Naomi ends up talking to him about putting his name on the birth certificate. She said, tonight made me realize that if something were to happen to you, me and my daughter really have no rights to know what's going on. We have no say-so. We have no input. And Eric was like, well, what you need me to do? She was like, well, would you want to put your name on the birth certificate? Like, we can do that. He was like, absolutely. She said, well, that was quick. He said, listen, I'm serious. Like I told you before, that I want to this is my daughter. I want to claim her. I want to be a part of her life. I want all of that. And so I'm being honest. Like, this is what I want. And so that was a moment. That was cute. They get to kissing. So I was like, are they kissing because it's just love, or are they kissing because it's love? Like, I don't know what the two of them at this point, child. So then we flash back again, and we have Naomi and Bree practicing, and Jill is like, well, what you want me to do? And they were like, girl, you can run the tape recorder, hit play when we're ready for the track. And so the two of them get the freestyling, and of course they sound good, and Bree rapping about being a straight A student but not being a square, and of course Naomi rapping about being hard, And then Jill gets up and she starts rapping, about being a preacher's daughter and all of that. And they are looking at her like, yo, you got bars. And she was like, listen, I love the Lord and hip hop. What? So they're a group. That's how they became a group. Now, they didn't have a name. They end up sneaking out that night and going down to the Latin Quarter. And they had to, lie their way to get in there and lie their way, to get on the list to be able to perform. And while they're trying to get on the list to be able to perform, baby, who shows up? But Bree's mama, baby. But here's where they had some heart. Because anybody else would be like, oh shit, we need to hurry up and get out of here because mama done showed up. Let's go before we get, she clearly know we snuck out the house. Let's go before we get in more trouble. They were like, we need to get on that stage because we in trouble either way. We might as well go ahead and perform. So, of course, they get on stage, and that's, Jill actually named them nasty bitches. And so that was their name because they really couldn't come up with nothing else. And they performed, and of course, they did well. They had the crowd rocking and all of that. And as soon as they got off stage, Bree's mama was like, if y'all don't get your ass in this car. And Eric was the guy running the list, and he was the one that actually let them get on stage. And he was like, yo, y'all are good. And then we was like, you think we gonna win? He was like, no, y'all not gonna win. He was like, ain't no way in the world they're gonna let y'all win. But y'all are good, and I'm a manager just starting out, and I would love to manage y'all. Like, what's up? And so he ends up giving Naomi the name and phone number and everything. And so that is the origin story. That is how the nasty bitches got started. That's how they all met, and that's how they got hooked up with Eric. Right now, fast forward to present day, we are back at the hospital, and the doctor is letting us know that Brianna has fragments of the bullet in her spinal cord, and right now she is paralyzed from the neck down. She's in a coma. They need to do another surgery that's really risky, but it could possibly help her walk again, right? And the mom is like, "Nah, we're not doing that." And of course, all of them are like, "What you mean we're not doing that?" And she was like, "We're not doing it." And that's my word on it. And so, of course, now they're like, "Oh, my goodness." And again, the mama ain't really feeling them. She don't really rock with them like that. So it's really not a whole lot they feel like they can say to the mama. So Jadakiss ends up sneaking into the hospital. And Jadakiss is like, "Why are the police down my, like, why LAPD running down my back?" He was like, "Did you tell them, that I did this?" And he was like, "Well, I didn't say nothing, but didn't you?" He was like, "Hell no." He said, "Listen, I wouldn't have shot Professor Sex trying to get to your ass. Like, that wasn't me. So you need to tell them it wasn't me. You need to get them off my back. And when you do get out of here, just know that you're going to wish they had finished the job." And so Lil Muffin, I said her name right, ends up seeing Jadakiss sneak out, and she finally lets the rest of the ladies know what's going on, that Eric owes money, and that she thinks it might have been Jadakiss that shot Eric. Now, while this is going on, the police detective lets them know that everybody's alibi checks out except for Jadakiss's alibi. Fake Latina's mama, fake mama, was actually seen on camera at a Taco Bell, and she's in custody because she did have a bench warrant from Wisconsin. Jill's girlfriend was actually on a flight headed back to Colorado. And like I said, Jadakiss is the one. So Jadakiss is their number one suspect at this point. So fake J-Lo goes to visit her fake mama. And she was like, "What you doing here?" She was like, "Well, I just wanted to see you, one final time before you left." And she was like, "Well, why? What do you want?" And she was like, she said, "Well, I want you to, did you lie to me about my mom? Like, why didn't you steal anything from me? Like, why didn't you take my jewelry? Why didn't you take anything?" And she said, "Because that was the short con." She said the long con was to be your mama and live that lifestyle, not just get some, quick bucks. And I was like, I could have told you that. She was going for the long con. Like, what is wrong with you? So she says, "Well, did you really know my mom? Did you tell?" She said, "Listen, I knew your mom. She was a friend of mine, and everything I told you, it wasn't my story. It was her story. So what I told you was true, except for the fact that your mother didn't care about you." She was like, "Your mother did care about you. She loved you." And she was like, "Well, why did she ever come and get me?" And she was like, "Because your mother, she passed away. But she was proud of you." And she's like, "I'll tell you more about your mother if you get me a good lawyer." Now, I think she's going to go ahead and do it. And I think the two of them are going to end up building, like, a friendship for real, right? But anyway. So, then we see the girls go and talk to Bree's mom. And they convinced Bree's mom to do the surgery. Like, it's a whole moment. They talk about how much they love her and how, we know you ain't never really rock with us, but this is what she would want. Like, you're condemning her to a life in a wheelchair. She can't take care of her kids. She can't live a normal life. Like, why would you do that? If she doesn't get the surgery, it's the risk of her dying. If she does get the surgery, so you might as well go ahead and do it. So she agrees to let them do it. And just while they're doing the surgery, the police detective comes in and says, "Listen, we got a clear view of who shot y'all. He took his mask off, and we got a clear picture. Where's Jill? Didn't I tell y'all it was Jill's husband? It is Jill's husband. Jill is in the chapel praying. And who comes sitting up next to her is her husband, talking about it was God's plan. I believe in God's plan, and it must be God's plan for us to be together because my bullet didn't hit you. The fact that you were spared tells me that we supposed to be together." I was like, this crazy. So then he tries to strangle Jill, and I'm like, but I thought God's plan was for y'all to be together. Why are you trying to kill her? But Jill ends up getting her hand on a candlestick and bopping him over the head. just as the police come in to rescue her. He not dead, but he needs some medical attention, girl. Now, while this is going on, of course, Jill's surgery is going bad. You know, we hear her flatline, and then at the very, very end, we hear her heart beating again. So my prediction, and we know that Remy Ma is going to be on the show now. So my prediction is that Bree is going to be in rehab, and then she's going to be gone for a while because she got to learn how to walk and do all that other stuff and, you know, heal, which is really AKA Eve not being on the show for a while. And then Remy Ma's coming in to sort of replace Jill for a while. We're going to see how it works out. I didn't know that Remy Ma was one of the writers for the show. So some of these raps and stuff, Remy Ma is writing for the show. I know that's right. You better go, girl. I love Remy Ma. So anyway, that's it. That's all. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.